On this episode of the podcast, we are going to give you our thoughts on who's going to be your new WWE Women's World Champion. Plus, we're going to get into what to expect for the WWE Draft. All of that plus more on this episode. Hit our damn music! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Burning Hammer Podcast. I'm Mark Izzo, he's Dillon O'Brien, and we are your hosts. And before we get into this episode, you need to make sure to follow us on all of our social media. You can follow us on X at The Burnt Hammer, and you can follow us on everything else at The Burning Hammer. You can watch us on YouTube at The Burning Hammer. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and you can listen to The Burning Hammer Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're on there. If you are listening to us via audio streaming service, make sure to subscribe or follow the show, and make sure to rate and leave us a review. That is the best way for us to find new listeners for the podcast. So without further ado, let's dive in, because we got some pretty not great news a couple of days ago. Last week for the listener or watcher. Rhea Ripley was forced to vacate the Women's World Championship on Monday Night Raw. First of all, we are wishing you a speedy recovery, and I'm very ready for this revenge tour that she's going to come back. She's going to be jacked, and she's going to be kicking some ass. But WWE announced that they will be having... they will be crowning a new Women's World Champion on Monday Night Raw, which is tonight if you're listening to this on Monday. So we were sort of like trying to figure out what matches were taking place at Backlash last week. And since then, they did confirm that Damian Priest versus Jay is going to take place at Backlash, which makes me think they're not going to have any of the women's world titles on the line there. So, Dylan, we are recording this prior to Monday Night Raw and prior to Friday Night SmackDown, so we don't know who's going to be involved in this match or what they're going to do. What do you think? You think they're doing a tournament? You think they're doing a singles, maybe a little battle royale?
Yeah, I think for some reason my money is on a battle royale. Just to I don't know, like it seems like it's a little bit old school in a way. They used to it feels like that's that kind of used to be the go-to for a vacant title, was like a battle royale back in the day. Was like a battle royale or like a and I'd say more in like the 2010s era, it was definitely like tournament style. It seemed if we were to have a new title or vacant title, it was like tournament style. But I definitely don't think it's going to be tournament style. I don't think they would have. I don't know. I don't see them doing a tournament unless they just make it like an all night thing. Like it just takes up like 2 hours of Raw, which would be sick.
It would be very sick.
Yeah, like, but I doubt it. I think, to be honest, I think I kind of want to see him do a battle royale. For some reason, my money's on a gauntlet match, though. But I don't want
gauntlet match.
Dude, they've been loving gauntlet matches lately, bro.
They do love gauntlet matches.
Like, and I think that's like a very uneventful way to crown. And then it just also gives somebody like a huge advantage over the others.
Yeah.
Like I know you said like you think they might do like Becky versus Liv.
Yeah.
Which I get that where you were coming from. We were like Becky and Rhea just had their match, and Liv is the last person to pin Rhea. And she also just injured Rhea. But I also think it just doesn't make sense to have it like a singles match, especially with like such little build. Like in the way that all they did was announce that it was happening next week. They didn't announce how or who or So doesn't it almost feel like they're just going to be like, I almost think Battle Royale, like that's why it almost makes me think Battle Royale, which makes me think that Adam Pearce is just going to be like the entire Raw women's division.
So, man, it's like
yeah, I would say if you had to pick if you had to rank like the 3 most likely options in which and how they do it, what do you think they are?
I think the most likely situation is we get a tournament.
Like a one-night tournament?
One night, 4 women. You have 3 matches.
Yeah, bro, but 4 women is like so, like it doesn't even feel like a tournament, but you're probably right.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you also can't do more than 4.
Yeah, no, but like
for one. I mean, they like could if it was just the entire show.
Yeah, if they just did an 8-woman tournament and it was the entire show.
It was just 3 hours of Raw and nothing else.
Bro, they should.
That would be sick.
I don't even care. Like, that would be so awesome.
So I would put that at number 1. I would put singles match at number 2, and I would put
Bro, that would honestly probably do great ratings if they were just like that would probably do way better ratings than a normal Raw.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I also think. Like, that's why I think like the tournament is going to be the most likely situation because
it takes up like more
it'll take up an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like how they're going to justify who's involved in this match, because I could see all 3 scenarios happening, right? Like you said, and if you're not following us on our social media, that's where we posted the video. But I said, like you said, I said Liv Morgan is the last person to pin Rhea. Becky just had a feud with Rhea, so I could see Pierce being like, all right, you 2 are going one-on-one.
Yeah. Also, I just will point this out. I noticed someone like on the TikTok. I'm not trashing this person by any means, but they
But you're not trashing them.
No, it was a fair comment, I think, in a way. Like they just on one of our clips they said that Becky is going on oh no, it was you. It was when you mentioned that Rhea vacated it. Someone said that Becky is like taking time off with Seth, but it appears that's not true, because like she addressed it on Twitter kind of, because like people said that, and then WWE posted something advertising her for live events in Europe, and she was like, oh, but I thought I was taking time off. She was like, see you soon, like that she'll be on the road in like 2 or 3 days. So
well, I also just thought like, even if she was taking time off, like I think we'd be like, listen, can you just come back and do this one match for us, and then we'll give you 2 weeks off? Like, I didn't think that was like a proper excuse to be like, she's not because she wants to have a vacation. Like, I think like just to come back and wrestle one match, but like, so I could see that happening.
No, agreed. I also just think that tweet and stuff came out before Rhea vacated the title. That was like last week.
And so I could see them doing a 4-woman tournament where it's like 4 previous champions. You all are going to get a shot. Someone said I've seen a lot of people say Nia Jax could be in the singles. I could also see that. But I think if it's not going to be Becky versus Liv one-on-one, then I think they're going to do something else. I think that's the only way they do the singles match. Then I could see the Battle Royale happening where it's like you have the entire women's locker room who's like, I want to be in the match. I want to be in the match. And everyone's screaming at Adam Pearce. You're just like, enough! You're all going to be in the match. It's a battle royal.
Yeah, let's I'm going to say,
because wouldn't it be fun to have like Chelsea Green and other people?
I think that's probably where I'm at. I think you've probably convinced me that they're going to do a 4-woman tournament, but if not, then I think it'll be a battle royal because of kind of what you said and just the way that they've been very vague about it. I think he'll be like, this new era, somebody needs to step up. You know what I mean? Like, and take it for themselves. Like, or what if he's just like, ladder match, main event tonight? That would be nuts.
Sick. Ooh, ladder match would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be a ton.
Just have them tear it down.
Yeah. So who is I guess who's who are names to throw out there as potential people to, be the women's world champion now. I think obviously the first person that comes to mind is Liv Morgan with everything that's happened. Being that she's the one that just injured Rhea. She was going after, like, it made
clear that was the next step.
Yeah, it was clear that they were doing Liv versus Rhea. It seemed that was the direction they were going. So, what do you think? Do you think? I'll say one. I'll say, do you think who do you think they put it on, and how do you feel about that?
So, like we talked about last week, it's tricky. We're in a tricky time right now with the draft, which is this week. So it is kind of tough to figure out who they're going to put it on, because, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, I don't know. Doesn't it feel like it's just like a slam dunk for Liv Morgan? Like,
yeah, it almost feels
who
like
else would it may be Becky, but like,
or I really can see Nia Jax. Like, I could see it being her. What if Roxanne comes up? Double champ Rox.
That would be cool.
Yeah. That's not like the craziest thing to assume, I don't think. There's less likely things.
I don't know. That seems pretty not likely.
I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right.
But
I don't know. It's just
I
like
hate
I
the
can't
mindset of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Who's like a sleeper? Who's like a sleeper dark horse? One that people aren't going to expect. They're not going to think about this person, but this person, don't be too shocked if this person is your women's champion on Monday.
I mean, what are the odds Chelsea Green just wins it?
Yeah, dude, that would be pretty sick.
That would be awesome. I mean, I don't know if there's more of a dark horse than Chelsea Green to win this.
Yeah,
because like I could see it happening, right? Like,
so can I.
Been a staple of Raw for however long she's been back in WWE. Like, they obviously think very highly of her. I mean, I think she's a good option.
And they got to win. Her and Piper got to win this past Monday.
They did.
Chelsea got the pin.
I mean, because that's the thing with like Raw. Like, if we're just talking about, which obviously we are, just talking about Monday Night Raw, like, we always have said they kind of lacked that star power. Not that they don't have the talent, they just haven't built enough stars on that brand.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any chance that
Shayna?
like Charlotte is healthy and pulls up? Like, I don't know what her status is on her injury, but like,
maybe, but I don't think so. I almost just like we said, it's almost too it's too obvious, I guess, but like, it's just such a slam dunk to put it on Liv, because it's also like putting it on Liv also, because you're not rewarding her for injuring Rhea by any means, but you can't make, like, it also makes Rhea's injury not for nothing, basically. Yeah. Because Rhea was this giant dominant champion, and Liv Morgan came in and took her out. You know what I mean? And took her and put her on the shelf. And then, so it's like, to come in, have Liv come in, put her on the shelf, take her belt, like,
well,
oh my God. And then like the feud for when, like, if Liv is champ and then Rhea returns when Liv is still champ, like, dude, that feud is going to be like, that feud can main event a pay-per-view. Like, that feud's going to be so hot. So it's like, it's almost like, I'm almost at the point where I'm like, it's too obvious, but it's right in front of your face. Like, just put it on Liv and just give her a monster heel run. Like, just get, like, Liv never should have been a babyface champion to begin with, if we're being honest. Like,
well, the only problem with that was because they put her up against Ronda.
Yeah, that's true. So, and it's also not that she can't get off as a babyface, but she's obviously such a more natural heel. Like, she just works so much better as a heel. She's such, like, she's been ever since she came back from injury. I feel like she's been doing great. Specifically, I thought her promo after she injured Rhea was awesome. Like I thought her promo this past week was some of the best like promo work she's ever done. So
yeah, it definitely feels like she has like that edge and like grittiness to her.
Yeah, like she's become much more believable. Like that's really all it is. Like she's just become much more believable. It's coming a lot more natural to her. So I mean, and like we said, like this is a new era. They've been screaming about how this is a new era. So putting it on Charlotte, a returning Charlotte, if that does happen, or Becky or Nia Jax, it doesn't really scream. It doesn't feel new era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whereas Liv's been around for a bit and she's been champion before in recent memory, it would 100% be different. And it's not like she's gotten a good title run before. Not like she had a good one.
That's what I think. Part of it is going to be like Triple H is just going to be like, listen, like they fucked up by having you lose the title to Rhea or to Ronda. Sorry. And so like here we're gonna give you like a proper title run because that one didn't go as planned and it's not your fault.
Well, and it's just like you said, man, like Raw has really been lacking with this, like their star quality as far as the women's division is concerned. And it's not a lack of talent problem, it's a lack of, they just have not built stars like Rhea and others, you know.
Yeah, because I mean like they have Becky, Rhea, and Liv are probably like in that star tier by themselves. Like there's no one else really.
Yeah. And honestly, and it's like level. Liv isn't at Rhea and Becky's level.
Yeah. But I mean, she's like the closest
she's the closest to that. Like I would
put her in the same tier.
Not yet.
Yeah, but you got to think of how over she was.
She's never had a singles match at WrestleMania, man.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, she's always been like one of the top.
I love her. I'm just saying, like, you can't tell me.
All right, we'll put Liv in a tier of her own.
I agree. I think she's like I agree. I think the only person that
if she wins the world title, will this put her in that tier?
I don't like. I think depending on how this run goes. And it's not even a hating on Liv. I just don't think she's done enough. She hasn't done nearly as much as Rhea and Becky has. You know what I mean? Like, but injuring Rhea was like dude, it builds her up. Like it makes her so much more a much more credible threat. And the whole Liv Morgan revenge, like. And like we said, we don't know how long Rhea is going to be out. You hope not until Rumble, but if it has to be until Rumble, then you can fuck around. And
that would suck.
Yeah, that would suck so hard.
Yeah.
I don't think it is, though. I don't think it is. Because I think they would have, like, kind of addressed it, if that makes sense. Like, I think they would have put a time on it if it was, like, significantly. Like, if it was going to be at least 9 months, I think they would have been, like... my guess is 6 months. I
agree.
My guess is in between 4 and 7 months is when she makes her return. But, like, the estimate right now is, like, 6.
I think the earliest she comes back is, like, SummerSlam.
When's that?
That's probably, like... 4 months.
That's the end of August, right? Or well, it might be the beginning of August now because last year was the beginning of August.
Yeah, but I think they may do the end of August to build more stuff for it.
Hopefully,
if that makes sense. It's in August sometime. It's give or take
4
months ish.
I would be shocked if if she's back at SummerSlam, to be honest. But it's not like it's definitely not out of the shocked. I just feel like that's a little soon, no? Like, it's already almost May to June, June to July, July to August. Like, that's only, like, 3.5 months.
Yeah, but...
My thought was, like, maybe Survivor Series, like, in a War Game situation, like, people...
Yeah, when's that, like, October? Or is that
November.
September? November?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
I mean,
in my head, I was like a War Game situation would make sense. Like if Liv has a team.
yeah, that would be sick. So if you
I
had to
mean,
put your money on it, who's leaving Raw as Women's World Champion?
Liv.
Agreed.
I'm willing. I honestly think they're fucking up if they don't. Because I think they're
I
just
agree.
fumbling an opportunity to elevate, give themselves another star. Like I think they're helping I think they're not only helping her, but I think they're helping themselves by putting it on Liv right now because it then adds a whole nother level to her character and then like we said, that potential feud when Rhea does come back, dude, that like could potentially main event a pay-per-view. Like that feud is gonna be so hot, like it'll be sick.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like, that's why I think Liv is going to win because I think whoever wins this title is holding it until Rhea returns.
I kind of think so too.
Like, I don't think we're gonna have two champions unless Rhea's out until Rumble. But if she's out,
unless
from 4 to 7 months, there's gonna be whoever wins is gonna.
Yeah, I would say unless Rhea unless she ends up being out like a decent amount longer than they expected her to, then I wouldn't expect there to be more than one champion.
Because I think they're going back to that when it's like, all right, we're gonna put the title on Liv so she can hold it until Rhea returns to get that feud.
Yeah. No, totally. I think it's worth it. Like I think it's worth and it's not like it, and I don't even mean worth it in a way. It's like it's not like you have to sacrifice to do it. I mean, the sacrifice was Rhea getting hurt. That's what fucking sucks. But like, you got to do what you got to do. Like in these situations, you just got to make the best out of what happened, which is a really shitty situation. But yeah, like I said, it's like you never want Rhea to get hurt, but you might as well not have it be for nothing, and you might as well just make Liv a mega heel out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, especially where it's like you have the draft coming up, so you can also just like shake up the rosters
totally
with like putting stars on certain shows, kind of evening it out a little bit more, and then you can also with like Liv being champion, I feel like now you can also still have wrestlers trying to prove themselves like Rhea did for like a while when she was defending against like Zoe Stark and like Shayna Baszler, like those kind of like mid-card level talent. And you can kind of just like build more stars like that through a star who's currently building herself. So I think Liv Morgan is by far the most likely person to leave Monday Night Raw as Women's World Champion. In fact, I would be very shocked if anybody else.
No, same. Yeah, I would be pretty shocked. I would say Becky is honestly probably your second best bet, but I don't think it's a great. But I honestly, personally, I don't think it's a great look putting it on Becky after Rhea just beat her. Like so, I
Agreed.
I really think the call is Liv Morgan. So I guess we can move on to the draft. Like, what are some of the big shakeups that you think are gonna happen here? Any like the big significant? Obviously, they're gonna happen. So I guess do you have any big predictions?
Ooh. Big predictions. I think we get a decent amount of title swaps. I know we talked about it last week.
Yeah. Do you think they do do you think they do a title swap to where it's like the different looking titles are mixed now? Like, do you think there's a chance that like Cody's title and Rhea's title are like on the same show? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I think that can happen.
Yeah.
I think
it's probably not likely, but I think it's probably not likely, but there's a chance.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But it's also like I think there's also there's a lot of good in that. You know what I mean? Because then you're not looking at the same title in an entire show. You get to see different titles. Like that's the one thing. It's like as I really like the Big Gold, the new version of Big Gold.
It's great.
But it does kind of suck that it's like just the same exact thing in with white leather for the women. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I could at least see that 2 different belts on the show. I guess it could make it a little bit better. But anyway, sorry.
Well, also the interesting thing with that is now the newly redesigned tag titles going by the World Tag Team Championships. You're assuming the SmackDown pair is going to be the WWE Tag Team Championships. So it's also kind of like, are they going to just have one show is going to be all of the world titles, the other show is just going to be all like the WWE titles?
So that is the one thing I'm almost like, so swapping it. That's the one thing is like mixing them up is the one thing that could potentially make it all confusing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, that's why there's also, it might just be better off just keeping them. And I also think they might, like, I think the tag titles they just announced are going to stay on Raw. Like, I don't think they would have debuted them on Raw if they weren't going to stay on Raw. Does that make sense?
At that point, just debut it at the draft.
Yeah. And also they have like red behind the World Tag Team, which makes me think that it's probably going to be blue behind the other. And those will be for SmackDown. So we'll see. Like it's kind of cool, but it's not. I like it though because it's not like a crimson red. It's like a burgundy.
Maroon.
Yeah, it's like a burgundy. So that's why I feel like the other ones might be nice as well. They might be like more like a navy instead of like a royal, kind of like the jersey.
Like the normal like baby bluish.
Yeah.
Kind of that is on like the SmackDown logo. But what do you think? Do you think they're going to have the same tag titles, just different name and with blue on SmackDown?
Part of me thinks so, but I really hope not.
I feel like that's the most likely situation.
Yeah.
But I also feel like Triple H is the one who's going to be like, nah, like I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I also think there's like a really good chance. I wouldn't be shocked either way, to be honest. I think the most likely thing is that they look pretty similar, but they're a little bit different. Honestly, like
circular
I think
design.
Yeah, sir. Like I think they're probably still circular. A little bit of blue instead of a red, and
the details will be a little different.
Yeah, maybe the details will be a little bit. Yeah, like honestly, like I think it'll still be similar, but I think it'll look pretty similar from far, but when you look up close, you can tell that they're different, basically.
Yeah. Because you don't want them like too differently, because then you're kind of like it may be a little tricky with like putting them against each other. Also, what I will say really quick about the titles, and then we'll get back to the draft. I haven't seen anyone else say this, but I know I texted you about it, but I think they ditched the Velcro on all of their titles.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like they might have gotten rid of the Velcro, or if it is there, they're hiding it better because you can actually see the buttons.
You see the buttons.
Cody's definitely doesn't have Velcro anymore.
I haven't seen anyone rip it, so I can't confirm or deny it, but I mean, it looked like Priest, his title, it had the buttons.
Yeah.
The tag titles had the buttons.
And I know that's just one thing. I was like, you could just tell that Cody didn't want that. Cody was not about to rock the Velcro. Yeah, Cody was not about to rock the Velcro. So that I do think Cody gets drafted to Raw. Agreed. So that is the one thing. I do think there's a good chance that Cody gets drafted to Raw, which means Bayley probably also gets drafted to Raw. I also think Bayley might get drafted to Raw to kind of split her from Damage Control, and then they can keep Damage Control as a thing if they want to. Because I don't know, having Bayley, who just like basically just took them out on the, I don't know, it almost, does that make sense? Like it's almost like what does Damage Control do now? But if Bayley leaves, then it kind of gives them a fresh start. So I think they're gonna swap the world titles, which means I guess I'm thinking that Liv is gonna go to SmackDown because I think she's gonna win. I also think, I think the Judgment Day goes to SmackDown because I think they've been running Raw for a while now, and I think them moving to SmackDown would really prevent them from getting stale without Rhea, because that's going to be a struggle on its own.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll just give him a whole new fresh set of matchups. They kind of need it. Like Judgment Day's pretty much been involved in like every storyline on Raw. So
Especially with tag teams.
That's the other thing. Like the Judgment Day has like 100% been like the main, like they're on Raw like literally 5 times a night. So, and they have been for the past like year, it feels like. So
yeah,
it almost feels like you're doing a disservice by not swapping them to just give them a better shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And I think the most likely thing that's going to happen, like we talked about earlier, it kind of feels like they're going to keep both the World and WWE titles on the same show just because it's like, that's going to make more sense. Real quick, do you think there's going to be like a power struggle within Judgment Day for who's the leader? Or do you think it's just they're going to be like, Priest is the leader now?
I think we're going to start to get those. I think we're going to start to see that tension. I think we already did kind of start to see that tension with Damian, like took a lot more like charge now that he's champion, and Finn kind of asked him a question and Damian didn't really want to talk to him about it. So seems like we might be getting that direction a little bit. And it'll probably lead to a sick Damian versus Finn feud, which will be really awesome. So I guess before we call it, is there like we should do some NXT call-up predictions for the draft.
Yeah, so I think slam dunks are Roxanne, Ilya.
So the one thing that worries me with Roxanne is the fact that she's the champion, is the fact that she just won the title.
Is she defending it? That is true, but she could also just run both for a month or 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's true. She might. I think that's probably the most likely scenario. But I agree, especially with Rhea down. Like, I can't imagine they don't bring up Roxanne now. Like, yeah,
I think Roxanne. I think Ilya Dragunov, because I think he's dropping the belt
to Tony.
To Trick.
Oh, to Trick.
They're fighting at Spring Break.
Okay.
I believe that's coming up soon. I think he's getting called up. I think Carmelo Hayes slam dunk. Braun Breaker's kind of like already.
Yeah. I think Melo's probably the biggest slam dunk, but I think you're probably right with Ilya as well.
Do you think Baron Corbin?
I think there's a good chance Corbin gets drafted back to the main roster. I think this NXT rebrand has been so awesome for Baron Corbin, and I think everyone can agree. I think it's time to bring him back up, man. I think it's time to bring him back up and let him fly on the main roster.
Let him fly.
Baron Corbin, it's time. It's time to bring him up. It's time. Dude, Baron. I fucking love Baron Corbin, dude. I used to hate him so much, and I love him
did
now,
everybody.
Dude,
so many people hated him.
I fucking love him so much.
I always had hope for him because
so did I. Like I always
finishing moves were sick, and I was like, all right, there's obviously something there because they wouldn't just this awful. This guy
not even hate it. I was just like, he just pissed me off because I would just be like, bro, like you're right there, but you just don't get, like, you're just missing something. And if
part of that's probably due to booking and this and that.
I don't know. It's also like, it's really hard to realize, I feel like, for some of these guys that I don't know. It's like that was Corbin's first, however 5 years on WWE, those were his first 5 years wrestling at all. You know what I mean? So he probably, like, he's just grown a lot over. He's been doing it for a long time now. So.
Do you think Tony
D'Angelo? No. I think he's still kind of gonna take over like NXT and win the NXT title at some point.
I think I think he gets called up.
You think so?
I think he's one of the guys that never wins the world title but gets called up.
I could see that too as well.
Because, like, what else would he do? Kind of feels like...
Win the world title?
Well, yeah, but it's like, I don't know. What's he going to do now until then?
I don't know.
He's not beating Trick for it. Unless
Trick might not beat Ilya.
Trick's beating Ilya.
We'll see.
We will see. I would be shocked if Trick doesn't beat Ilya.
I wouldn't be that shocked. Like, I expect Trick to win, but I really wouldn't be that shocked.
That's loser leaves NXT, right?
No, Mello. I thought Mello versus Trick was loser leaves NXT.
Okay, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe then.
I don't know though.
I just think. Wait, so if Trick loses, do you think Trick gets called up?
Nah.
Okay.
Bro, I don't even know. I've kind of talked myself into a hole here. Because for some reason, I think Trick is going to beat Ilya, but I don't think he's going to do it on the first try. I think it's going to take him 2 tries.
Didn't he fight Ilya before, though?
Oh, shit, you're right. Yeah, you're right. He did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's going to win.
Did I bring it to my side?
Yeah, he's going to win. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And it also is just like Ilya's going to get called up.
Yeah, because he won like the Iron Survivor thing. Trick did.
Yeah. So what NXT women do you think are getting called up? I think Gigi.
Roxanne, Gigi.
Roxanne.
Jossie. I think
Chase U.
Maybe. I'm a little worried for them on the main roster, to be honest.
Really?
I like Chase U a lot, but I don't know how well that it will get how well it'll come across.
That's fair.
On the main roster.
I think
just with with such a large crowd, essentially.
I think there's only 2 ways that's going. It's either 2 extremes. You know what I mean? Like,
it's either they're gonna go awesome or terrible.
I think they're gonna be one of the most over things, or it's just like they're gonna like,
or no one's gonna care. Yeah,
in like 3 months, because it feels like a very niche thing to kind of like be like.
That's my thing. I'm like, they're so niche, so I'm like, I almost
I think it's cool.
It is. It definitely is.
That being said, I haven't seen that much of them. But I do think they're sick.
There's just so many factions. That's the other thing. And it's like you bring up Chase U and put him with like, and you compare him to like Judgment Day and stuff. It's just like they like hold no and it's not like you would do that right away or anything like that anyway. But
what about Joey Gacy?
So see, that is one I think Joe Gacy is that people are sleeping on, forgetting about. But I think Joe Gacy's getting called up. I think
nice.
And I love Joe Gacy, dude, and I think he's gonna do some really cool stuff on the main roster.
Agreed. I think he's gonna be like that punch of like weird mysticness on like the main roster.
Totally.
If that makes sense. You think Sean Spears?
I would say probably not. I would say Spears probably does a little more work in NXT. But
agreed. Do you think they swap mid-card titles?
For some reason, I don't think so.
Agreed.
I'm gonna say
I don't think they would swap every title.
Yeah, it just feels like too much. Yeah. Like I think the only titles that get swapped are the world titles. I think both the men and
women's world titles.
Exactly. Yes.
Do you think? We talked about it before. What are the chances they introduce women's mid-card title for the draft? Now we're talking.
You see, that would be really awesome. I think there's a much more likely scenario that kind of gets introduced after like a little bit later on. I don't think that's gonna come right now, honestly.
Yeah,
but it happening in NXT is very, very promising.
It has to happen on the main roster.
Yeah,
if it's happening in NXT, and then we'll end with this. Do you think are there any main main like major like superstars you think are swapping brands: Jade Cargill, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. We said Cody and the Judgment Day and Bailey.
Yeah, so I mean, Cody's been on Raw, even though he's SmackDown, but I think they want Cody on Raw, so I can't imagine switching Seth, dude.
Yeah, but you're going to kind of need someone to replace Cody on SmackDown.
Cody hasn't been on SmackDown.
I mean, he's been doing both.
For like a month. Like, you know what I mean?
Also just have like the Bloodline is on like SmackDown mostly.
Yeah. I think they'll do.
I think Charlotte gets drafted.
I think there's a good chance. Yeah, I think there's a good chance Gunther goes to SmackDown. Just because I think they're like more in the way that it's like a fresh start for him after losing the IC title.
That would make sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Because then
I could see
Rand would look good. He would look good with Big Gold 2.0.
He would. I could see Randy going to Raw, honestly.
Yeah.
Trying to think of people I could see. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think my big major prediction is that Judgment Day goes to SmackDown, Cody goes to Raw, Bailey goes to Raw. Or do you think maybe one of the brands takes Damian, like as the world heavyweight champ, and then he's like there without Judgment Day?
Maybe.
That could also be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because it's on. I want to say it starts this Friday. I believe it's the 26th, and it's also on Monday Night Raw, which I believe is the 29th. I think it's gonna be.
It's next week.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It'll be this week.
Yeah.
I think, man, this is gonna be fun, especially with like the little rivalry between Nick and Adam Pearce.
Totally.
Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce.
Totally. I don't know if you saw my one tweet, but I said I feel like they should have each picked a wrestler and then had a match for the number one pick.
I didn't, but that's a great idea. I think they should just wrestle for it. They both can wrestle.
Yeah,
they both can go.
I
think that would be sick. I'm surprised that they haven't gotten physical yet because it feels like they've been leading to like a physical altercation for a while. But it's going to be interesting to see. They got a lot of stars. They're going to have to balance this out a little more. Obviously, I think a few more stars are going to go on Raw because they got to cover it for 3 hours. But it's also interesting because like they're moving to Netflix next year, plus everything that's happening with the Bloodline. Is there going to be a Bloodline member drafted who's not debuted yet? Does Jacob Fatu get drafted? Does Zilla Fatu get drafted? Hell, does Rikishi get drafted? So you let us know all of your WWE draft. Give us your boldest prediction. Drop it in the comments down below, wherever you're seeing this clip. You can drop it on our social medias, on Twitter or X. We are at The Burnt Hammer. Everything else, we are at The Burning Hammer. Let us know your thoughts about the WWE draft. With that being said, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Burning Hammer podcast. I'm Mark Izzo. He's Dillon O'Brien, and we will catch you next week.